Every single day, I'm gonna make something great. That's my way.
Hey guys, welcome to another beautiful day. I cannot thank God enough for this absolutely gorgeous summer riding weather. Seriously, last year around this time it was already in the triple digits. But right now it's just beautiful. Early in the mornings it's actually cold. I gotta put my thermal layer in my mesh jacket because it's like 50s. I'm not complaining though. So today I'm actually dropping off my bike for its 1,000 mile maintenance. I have been kind of late in getting around to it, just pretty busy with different things, but the recommended break-in cycle I think is around 500 miles. You don't take it above 4,000 RPM, and then before 1,000 and you do an oil change and, you know, check the chain and all that stuff. And then before 1,000 miles, you don't take it above 6,000 RPM. And then you do an oil change, and then after that, you're golden as far as taking it up to the red line, and then doing oil changes at just a factory recommended service interval. Now the beautiful thing about where I live is it doesn't rain hardly ever, and so the bike itself stays very clean. I keep it garaged when I'm not riding it. So as far as how the chain looks, I don't really need to clean it that often. Doesn't get a lot of gunk on it, and washing the bike, it's very minimum, just wiping down. And I see I need to clean some of this. It's getting kind of dusty, but that's the nice benefit of living in an area that doesn't get a lot of rain. We get no snow. The climate here is very dry. So, but I'm excited because I've been a good boy and had self-control, and maybe once or twice I've gone above 6, but nothing too crazy. Maybe went up to 7. Not that I expect this to be like a super sport where all the power is made that high. In fact, I might wind this thing up and be severely disappointed, just because I think this engine was retuned to be more streetable and have a lot more low-end torque, which is fine by me because commuting day to day, I'm living between, 3 and 6,000 RPMs. But I don't know, we'll see. When I've done some aggressive throttle work, I mean, it pulls hard up to 6, so I don't see why it wouldn't go all the way to the red line, right? And we'll find that out. I am curious how many of you actually take your bikes to a shop to get the oil change, or if you do it yourself. I consider myself mechanically inclined. I mean, I have no problem working on the bike. But for these first 2 break-ins, I just wanted to make sure it's done right, done well. Not that it's not exactly rocket science changing the oil. And by mechanically inclined, I mean I've done a whole lot of stuff to cars, changing the oil. I constantly change the oil, you know, bolt-on stuff. I had a turbo on my Civic, you know, so I'm comfortable taking things apart. So after this oil change, I'll be doing all the work, the maintenance on the motorcycle. But like I said, for at least the first 2, I figured, hey, let's just get the professional and get it done right. But definitely not the dealer. Not that I have anything against dealerships, but that guy's trying to sell his slingshot. Not that I have anything against dealerships, but for a regular oil change, they charge anywhere between $90 to $110. No joke. And this guy, a lot of people here take their bikes to him. He's $40, which is really cheap. He's this great guy. He's a little bit older. He races Supermoto down in the next city south of us. He's a really, really nice guy. So one of my friends recommended him to me, and I took my bike there. Was very happy with him, and will continue to give him my business. That's the thing I really love about this bike, is it just has the power right where you need it. In terms of just being such a streetable bike, very pleasant to ride. The throttle isn't jerky at all. Plenty of power. And here we are. How you doing? so I just picked up the bike from its oil change. Told me that my chain was tensioned too tight. So I don't know how it could have gotten out of spec or gotten tighter. Usually I've heard of chains getting looser unless he himself had tightened it too much the last time he serviced the bike, but no worries. Alright, so just picked up the bike from its oil change and service. Now I should be good to go for a little bit of time. Man, the weather is still really, really nice, at least on the bike. You get a little bit of breeze with the mesh jacket. I mean, it's hot now. It's probably, I don't know, upper 80s. But definitely can't complain. You know, when you think about self-serving your bike, a lot of people are always talking about the balance of time is money in terms of having someone else do it instead of doing it yourself. You know, the other side is doing it yourself and making sure the job's done right versus, you know, having an expert do it for you. There's the argument of knowing your bike well, so that if you were to break down somewhere, you might have some working knowledge of what's going on in your bike. So those are all kind of the factors that play out. My personal opinion is and that's how I kind of approached cars, was learning how to service your car before you make the decision to have someone else do it. And I spent many nights under my car, busting knuckles, changing the oil, fixing things that broke, changing out the starter and cat, all these things. But then eventually I got tired of that. Mostly I didn't have time for it, to be honest. And so I decided I would just pay someone to do it for me. Even oil changes. You know, you have the express oil changes that are so fast. So it really comes down to, you know, what's the most convenient. You know, for me, I wanted to know as much as I could about the car, and that's just kind of how I am. And that's what I'm looking forward to with the bike. You know, just obviously I don't plan on tearing the thing apart and putting it back together, but you know, understanding the basic function and where things are, and that personally is what I'm wanting to get into. And eventually I'd love to be able to, you know, build something from scratch, put something together. You know, the thing about a car is everything is always a bolt-on. You know, rarely do you have to fabricate unless you're doing something non-OEM, and I assume that's the same way with the bike. You know, most of the stuff is just because of how it's manufactured, just bolt-ons, plugging things in here, plugging things in there. You know, the only thing I've done to the bike so far is rear seat and side saddles. Rear seat, no, I haven't done side saddles. Rear seat and passenger pegs. And so the only thing I've done so far to the bike is put on the passenger seat and the passenger foot pegs, and that took all of, I think, what, 10 minutes. Get out sometime soon to the highway to see how this thing's legs can open up. Oh, trust me, I'm tempted, but I don't want to get arrested, and I like my neighbors. I don't think they would appreciate me zipping by at 60 miles an hour on their neighborhood roads.